Hi, everyone. We're here with the brilliant Silvia Dorta-Duque de Reyes. Oh, gosh, she's just coming with so much experience, specifically in biliteracy and academic writing. She's held so many different influential positions to support those who are multilingual learners over many, many years, and an expert in this area. So we'll be talking about newcomers today. And one of the things that really, aside from your own experience as a newcomer yourself when you were young, and all of the work in education that you've been a part of, you were also the director for migrant education for the Oceanside Unified School District. And that really meant that you were supporting 1,800 students year-round, many of them newcomers. So you have firsthand experience and educational experience. And so this is the perfect person to have this conversation with. So Silvia, so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patty. And I'm very happy to be here. And I wanted to thank you personally for all the work that you have done during the pandemic for our teachers. I know that when we had nothing out there a year and a half ago, you immediately, went up and taught us how to teach writing with a clipboard virtually. And I know how much it meant to all of us. We were lost. We had never really taught virtually, and you stepped right in so courageously. And so thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that that I thank you personally, because I know how much I gained from it, and I know how well received you are with teachers. And thank you for all this work that you're doing now with Benchmark, connecting us all and providing us with these great dialogues that are so helpful. Thank
Thank
you.
you for those words, Sylvia. They mean the world to me. And honestly, one of the best parts of all of this, because there's always a silver lining, no matter how hard things are, is that I have the opportunity to have conversations with people like you and record them so that others can hear them. So with this concept of newcomers, with the topic of newcomers, for those of us who might be unfamiliar with the term or are really new in supporting newcomers, let's just start with the basics. So could you define newcomers?
Okay, so let's see. The term newcomers refers to foreign-born students and their families that have recently arrived. Now, there's different types of newcomers, and we'll talk about that. But one thing that I want to emphasize is that throughout history, people from all over the world have immigrated to the United States to start a new life, and they bring with them their customs, their religions, their languages. And really, we all know that the United States is to a great extent a nation of immigrants. But one of the things that I also want to emphasize is that the incredible role that that schools play in helping the newcomers adapt and contribute as they integrate to the American society. Again, it's a very important role that helps the students be successful, because immigrants themselves have a very important role in the fabric of our society. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And I know that Kenji Hakuta has researched the important contributions of immigrants in the United States. And I think it's really important to think about that when we think about newcomers. Yes, they're new. Yes, they arrive here. Yes, there's different types of newcomers. And that's the other part that we will be talking about, is how
Mhm.
the different types of newcomers and how they need to, that our services need to be differentiated, because there are different conditions in the world that brings people, or that creates this movement of people globally.
Yeah. So, how about we start then with describing what to expect from newcomers?
Well, the first thing is you can expect them there's several things. I think that you want to understand that they are ready to contribute and that they bring with them a certain energy, and we need to look for that because they also bring anxiety, they also bring the vulnerable, they're vulnerable, they
Yes.
bring that, and it's very hard. Nobody just picks up and goes to another country, just because. Um, the conditions that prompt that migration are really important. They're socio-political. Sometimes there are natural resources or lack of natural resources like water, food, and all those things disable sustainability. And you have to go and look for a better place for yourself and your family. So very few people, myself included, make it to the United States, and they're ready to contribute. We're ready to create better conditions for ourselves, and as we create better conditions for ourselves, we create that for others. So again, teachers, how do we enable that possibility? How do we help our students, hold on to the belief and the promise that no matter how hard things are here in the United States, through education, we can make a lot of things happen. And so again, in describing the newcomers, some come here to seek asylum. Some are refugees fleeing from persecution, and some are unaccompanied youth. We just saw that we have, and we always have waves of people at different times, and the children, we take care of them. We take care of them through schools and social agencies. So something that I want to point out is that, because you were saying, Patty, what do the newcomers bring with them? Well, they bring this incredible energy and this incredible belief in potential that they have, and that we need to promote from within them as well. But they also bring that anxiety, because even after they get admitted, there's a long process that has to happen where, there's legal processes, there's all
Mhm.
kinds of things that happen, and that creates a lot of anxiety. The students know that they are being processed, and it's an unknown.
Yeah.
I just want to say that, being a newcomer is very emotionally taxing. Being
Mm.
an English learner is very emotionally taxing.
Yes.
So,
And so, what do newcomers then need from schools, or what can schools do
yeah.
to meet the needs of
Well, okay.
newcomers?
Exactly. That is really good, because there's nothing that we can do, totally, with all the world conditions and whatever. When the students come, the first thing we want to do is have a welcoming environment,
Mm.
and everything everything is so appreciated. A smile, respect,
Mm.
a spirit of service. If I had to cloak myself in something to provide the newcomers in my classroom, it would be that smile, that respect, that spirit of service, that non-judgmental acceptance is really
Mhm.
important. The kindness that you do, freely given, and you are that model for the rest of the children in the classroom to see how you treat somebody new that, yes, looks different, dresses different, there's something different about them, and they feel it, and you notice it, it's natural. But how do we treat that condition in our classroom? how open, how welcoming, how serviceful. And that implies a lot of social emotional support. So again,
Yes.
that welcoming environment, number one. Number two, social emotional support. What does that mean in school and outside of school? And we need to take a holistic approach, a family-oriented approach.
Ah,
Because it's not just the child, it's the child and the family. So
right.
I think teachers need to become aware of their communities. Where are the medical services? Where are basic food, basic needs like food, clothing, shelter?
Mhm.
How does that work in your own community? Schools are part of that community, but I know that as teachers, we have so much to do that sometimes we're not aware of all the services and the network outside of the schools. And we are part of that network. So again, the families are going to need a little bit of help. And when you have access to the family, you need to also provide, look, there's this agency and you can get food here, and you can communicate all of these services, right? But even information about the school,
Mm.
you can provide a little folder with all this in it. And I emphasize a folder because, papers get lost, so
Mm.
use the paper clips, use the staplers, use the folders, staple them onto the folders so that they don't get lost, so that they can have all the school things in one place.
Mhm.
That would be important for the family. But let's look at the students themselves. Number one, and I think we know this, and I think that this is a good idea, is to review these very basic things. Like in school, each students, they need buddies. They need a friend to walk with them out to recess, to line up with them, to do all these things that we take for granted. The bell rings, oh my gosh, what does that mean? All these things that they have a buddy with them to show them the ropes, right? The
So a
other,
folder for the family. Let me recap here for a second. Yes.
yes,
A folder for the family. That's super helpful as we create this welcoming environment. A buddy for the student. What else did you have in mind?
and I think that there's two types of buddies.
Ah,
There's, if you're a second grade teacher, you need a buddy that is going to be, like just following the student, going out to play, help, do all the things within that schedule of the school time, and even in the classroom. But
yeah.
then you could also have a system where you have the older students, remember, become that ambassador,
Ah,
guides, mentors, academic tutors, the older kids that have been there themselves. If I have a first grader, give me a fifth grader, a sixth grader to come in to help out during recess, during whatever time. That is like a mutual. So getting your buddies and your ambassadors or academic tutors together, that's really important. Now, the other thing too that we need is we need that academic program, that academic curriculum. That really makes a big difference, because
okay.
you can't just put the students right into your classroom without understanding that there's a lot of differentiation that needs to happen. So
Mm.
you want to be able to have a curriculum, something that you're going to have to be developing language, but
Mhm.
also developing cognition. That
Okay.
is super important. Pay attention to the thinking functions, to creativity, to identity and self-reliance, goal setting, monitoring my own work as a student. So these are things that I want to talk about a little bit more. I want to talk about the curriculum that values the home language,
Okay.
because you want to value that home language. You want to provide language development, but you also want the students to learn how to use their home language to learn English. Um, you want a curriculum that provides a scope and sequence
Mhm.
that is cohesive, that is able to give you basic structures of language, but at the same time expand on those structures. expand, so that yes, you have your sentence frame, but you can also break out of that sentence frame as you make that language your own. And there has to be a reason why you make that language your own. So you have to create this idea of social interaction that the Stanford papers tell us about, that language is developed by the use, by the need. So you have your language structures, you have the social interaction, and you integrate the 4 domains cohesively. Well, we want programs. You can pick a program that does all this when you know what to look for. That is something that's very special. The other very, very important thing to be aware in our classrooms, and we already have all this, is the idea of that technological interaction. Your welcoming of this newcomer, you want to be able to provide them access to the new tools of learning, for reading from a tablet, to note-taking, to test-taking, to navigating through the different applications for a tablet, on an iPhone or whatever, the computer. So remember, our learning tools are very advanced, and children need to learn those. So that has to be an opportunity, and thank goodness kids are like ready to learn all of that, but without leaving behind the idea of having a little box where you can have a little box with your pencils, your glue, your little scissors, crayons, things that are your little basic paper and a basic little supply kit that goes home, so that the students have that. That's really, really very important.
Yes. So to recap a little bit of what you've been saying, so we almost want to have a balance of kind of 2 things, where we're first thinking about the human and the humanity in front of us, right? This newcomer, their family, and their home language, their customs, their anxieties, their potential and power, and and at the same time, we're thinking about how we can leverage all of that to then begin building another language, including English, to function well in the community.
And building the academics.
Yes.
Go with that.
And to build academics.
Yeah. And that third other dimension of technology. Now, let's talk a little bit more about building the academic and how we do that, because the first thing that we need to understand is that thinking comes before language. So that metacognition, and children read the world before they read words. That's Paulo Freire. And we need to understand how we want to think with the children and build in that thinking, that procedural knowledge. So what does that mean? That means that the programs need to have things like projects embedded, simple projects embedded in them, so that students can do procedural learning. That takes a lot of thinking function, and then those thinking functions have special language structures that go with it, and you want to build the knowledge that way, build knowledge and build the language that goes with that knowledge, and at the same time invite that creativity, create something and then tell us about it. That is really, really, really important. And then yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say, I could talk to you about this for days and days and days. And just to make it so maybe we can have a follow-up conversation to continue some of these things, and maybe be able to dig deeper into some of them. I just want to recap what we were able to talk about today and all the knowledge you brought to us today. You described what to expect from newcomers in such a in such a way that helps us really see how not only do they bring so much to learning, but they bring so much to all of us in this country. And that schools have a unique opportunity to support newcomers and their families through being overtly welcoming.
Now, I do want to emphasize a couple of things like moves that educators can do right away. Besides,
could you give us one as our wrap up today? Give us one
sure.
move.
Okay, I'm going to give you one move. Number one, a sense of safety, belonging, identity with sustainability strategies. What do I mean? I mean, you have to have a place where the student says, this is your belonging, this is your cubby, this is your seat, this is your desk, here's a little box, these are your things, this is your book. All of these things that say, I belong here and I have ownership. That's very important. Structures for learning, a learning plan, independent and with peers. You want to have goal setting. This is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to do this week, and celebrate that. Also, most important is that sense of identity. Welcome, you're here, but tell me your narrative. Don't hide that narrative. It's very important for identity. Tell me about you. Where did you come from? Where is that? Let's look at the global map. Here's where you came. Here's where you're now at. Here's what happened. This is why it happened. And now you're here. Welcome. And then you, the teacher, become part of that narrative that needs to continue. And where are you going to go? What are you going to do? How can I help you get there? So supporting that safety, that sustainability also includes teachers, that observation, that observation. Did they fall asleep in your classroom? Let them do that. It is safe to do that here. Always know where to get a new pair of shoes. Always know where to have a t-shirt. Know that, yes, the nurse can give you this, but you might have one right there so that if anything happens, you can provide that on demand without making a big deal of anything, a change of clothes. The idea that, you want some discrete action when you need to address these basic needs, because that creates stigma. And you want to show the students in your classroom how you handle these basic needs. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you teachers for helping create this this identity, this belonging. I think that is, you own your classroom. It belongs to you. Well, now you can share that with the newcomer and create that sense of belonging and identity.
Yes, and you offered us so much learning today and an incredible amount of inspiration. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking this time to talk with us. And I look forward to when we can again.
Thank you, Patty. Love talking to you. Thank you.